Baywatch. My very late review of Baywatch, because I think I seen this movie going back about 3 weeks ago now, so apologies for the very late review of this movie. Directed by Seth Gordon, it's based on the television series of the same name. A TV series that I sort of used to watch in the background when I was a kid. It was always on I think a Sunday afternoon, a late Sunday afternoon evening. I might be wrong, but that's when I can remember watching it or seeing it on the TV. But I've got no real sort of vivid memory of the TV show, to be honest with you, apart from the fact that David Hasselhoff was in it and Pamela Anderson. And the slow-mo running. I sort of remember a lot of slow motion when it came to the women running across the beach as well. So plot, very basic, but I sort of expected that with this type of movie, so I didn't really go in expecting anything too complex. So the plot basically follows lifeguard Mitch, played by Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and I think he's playing David Hasselhoff's character. I'm not entirely sure. So the plot basically has Mitch, lifeguard Mitch and his team basically protecting the beach from a drug lord. He starts to get these sort of signs that there's something dodgy going on the beach, and then so you've got this investigation. It's pretty basic, pretty straightforward, something that we've seen before. I like The Rock when it comes to, or Dwayne Johnson even, I keep referring to him as The Rock, but I like Dwayne Johnson when it comes to comedy. I think he can be a pretty funny guy, and when it comes to delivering the humour, the comedy, I think he does a pretty good job. And I liked him in this movie. I did, enjoy his sort of performance in this movie. I mean, he is, like I said, I just find him, I think he's pretty good when it comes to humour and comedy. And he does make me chuckle. But overall, this movie, for me, really wasn't funny. To be honest, it really wasn't the funniest movie I've seen. It was pretty bad when it comes to the humour. Like, the humour in this movie it's just very cheap humour. For example, it involves, a person's private part getting stuck in something, or some very sort of cheap, dirty sex joke, and it's just full of those sort of jokes. It's that type of humour, and it's not really for me. I mean, some people do like that type of humour, and so I think there will be some people out there who will enjoy the humour in this film, but for me it was just very bad, very cheap, and just it was. Now, when the film starts, that was actually quite promising, because you get this over the top sort of rescue scene, very dramatic, and then you've got Dwayne Johnson's character Mitch walking out of the ocean, and behind him you have the massive Baywatch title just emerge from the ocean behind him, and then you've got these dolphins as well, sort of, doing their thing in the background. And I actually really chuckled during that scene. I liked that because it was sort of funny, and I thought, oh, hang on a minute, this movie is actually gonna, it's aware of itself, and it's, and I was hoping that sort of humour would sort of carry on throughout the rest of the film. It was very silly, but it was like, for me, it was this film basically telling the audience, this is what, you're in for. We know the type of film we're making. We're aware of itself, and it's going to be silly and funny and all of that. But it just, really, to be honest with you, after that moment, it really went downhill for me. When it came to the humour anyway. But yeah, the humour just really fell flat throughout the movie. It just wasn't as funny as it could have been. Wasn't as silly and wacky as I think it should have been. I do think there were moments where it sort of took itself a little bit too seriously, maybe. And I just think it could have taken the piss out of itself a little more. It just needed a little bit more humour, but and better writing, really. But there were moments with Dwayne Johnson's character, and he would throw these there were sort of insults towards Zac Efron. He would call him a different name throughout the film, and I didn't count how many different names he called Zac Efron's character, but it'd be something like Justin Bieber or something along those lines, and I sort of liked that. That did make me chuckle, but I think a lot of that was down to the way Dwayne Johnson delivered those lines and those sort of insults. It's quite a simple gag, really, But I think when it comes to these type of movies, they really do try too hard to make people laugh, and I think the result ends up being what we got with this, which is, and you know, it's very common with these type of movies where you get these really sort of cheap sort of gags and jokes, you know, with getting your private part stuck in something. I just don't, you know, that's not really clever. It's not really smart writing or humor, and it's, you know, it's really not smart, and I just don't find it funny. And I think a lot of the time it just comes down to people trying a little bit too hard to be funny and overthinking it, and then they end up having this. You know, when it comes to performances, you know, Zac Efron was okay in this film. Didn't particularly find him that funny. Like, his performance in this was okay, and so was the rest of the cast, really, but there was nothing really special. And for me, this film worked only when it got really silly. Like, you've got this very cheesy cameo from David Hasselhoff, and then there's a cameo from Pamela Anderson towards the end, and it's all in slow-mo, and that sort of humour did make me chuckle a little bit. But yeah, overall, sort of just very cheap, full of cheap laughs, very dull, a very dull movie. There was nothing special about it, not that funny, a straightforward plot, but you usually expect that in these type of movies. In a way, Baywatch was like eating junk food. And, you know, it's bad for you, it's not good for you, and it's just full of really just sort of bad humour, bad writing. So yeah, that was Baywatch. Overall, it was just very boring and not really that funny. So yeah, I will be giving Baywatch a D-. Thank you so much for watching, I really do appreciate it. What did you think of Baywatch? Let me know below. Did you agree or disagree with anything I said? Let me know. I'm off now to go and see Baby Driver. I'm really looking forward to seeing it, and I will have a review up for that by the weekend. Yeah, thanks again for watching, I really do appreciate it. And if you like what you see, and you're a big geek like me, then why not hit subscribe?